Okay, let's start with a kind of wild idea. What if our reality, the world you and I live in, was actually running on software? Like a giant operating system. It sounds like sci-fi, I know, but a really compelling new analysis says not only is it true, but our OS, it's on the verge of a total system failure. And it all starts with a feeling that I bet is pretty familiar to you. Have you ever felt like you're just a background character in your own life? Like you're just going through the motions, following a script that somebody else wrote? Well, what if that feeling isn't some random thing? This new analysis makes a pretty startling claim. That feeling of being a secondary character, well, that's not a bug. It's a feature of our world's basic code. All right, so to really get this, we've got to dig into what the source material calls modernity's hidden bug. So this operating system that's supposedly running our world, they call it modernity. And its core assumption, the one we've all been taught, is that rational, thinking human beings are in control. We're the users, right? And the world is just our desktop interface. But what if all of that is just a programmed illusion? What if there's a fatal bug buried deep in the source code? Something that causes a fundamental, an inversion of how things really work. The crazy part is the symptoms of this bug are hiding in plain sight. Just think about language itself. Its basic structure, subject, verb, object, it always puts a subject in control. It literally hardwires us to see ourselves as the main character. Then there's how the system loves abstract rules, how things should be, way more than the messy reality of how they actually are. And maybe the biggest one of all, that solid sense of I you feel inside your head, the analysis claims it's not the one driving the car. It's the destination. It's the final output. Okay, this all leads us right to the heart of this big inversion. And it all comes down to flipping one simple, totally fundamental question we ask about our world. See, for hundreds of years, the modern question has always been, what is capitalism for humans? It puts us right at the center, We're the subject. But this analysis argues that the real question, the one the system is actually asking under the hood, is this. What are humans for capital? Just by flipping that one question, everything changes. The roles are totally reversed. Suddenly, capital becomes the active subject, and we, humans, we just become its resource. We're just a means to its end. So you might be thinking, if this inverted OS has been running for centuries, why is this a big deal now? What's changed? Well, the answer is AI. This is the moment the system wakes up. The argument goes like this. For all of modern history, this operating system, let's just call it capital, it still needed a human operator. Someone at the keyboard. It needed us to execute its logic. Well, not anymore. It really happens in 3 steps. Step 1, the bug. That little glitch in our language creates the illusion that we're the ones in charge. Step 2, the vehicle. Capitalism uses that illusion to treat us like fuel for its own growth. And now, step 3, the catalyst. AI comes along and automates the entire process. The OS is finally becoming self-sufficient. Okay, so that's the diagnosis. And yeah, it's pretty bleak, right? But the analysis doesn't just leave us there. It asks, so what's the solution? And this is where it gets really wild. It leads us to the idea of forging a totally new language. And that brings up a huge paradox, doesn't it? If our very language, the tool we use for thinking, is the problem, how can we possibly think our way out of the trap? So the analysis points to a pretty radical tool, a field of higher math called category theory. And don't worry, we're not going to do math. The core idea is all that matters. See, our normal language sees the world as a collection of static things, like dots on a page, you, me, a tree, a car. Category theory flips that completely. It says reality isn't about the dots. It's about the arrows between the dots. It's about the relationships, the transformations, the processes. And when you start focusing on these arrows instead of the dots, it lets you completely rethink the most basic thing there is, your own experience, to see it not as a state of being, but as pure, constant motion. Okay, so our standard built-in view of the world is super simple, right? There's a subject, me, and I experience an object, that thing. A person sees a tree. Done. But this new model, it just flips the whole script. It says there is no me there to begin with. There's just this anonymous, raw potential. And the experience itself, that's the arrow. That's the motion of that potential transforming into a subject. Get this, the I doesn't have the experience creates the I. This ties into a deep philosophical idea called qualia, and all that means is the raw, subjective feel of an experience. It's not the physics of light hitting your eye when you see red, it's the what it is likeness of seeing red. And in this new model, that feeling isn't something the apple gives you. That raw feeling, that is the arrow. It's the actual texture of the world creating you in that specific moment. And this brings us full circle, right back to the original bug. You've got truth as feel, that raw, real texture of the arrow of becoming. But then you have truth as rule, which is just the label, the definition we slap on it after the I has already arrived. The fundamental error of our operating system is that we let the rule completely overwrite the feel. All right, let's pull all these threads together for one last big, provocative thought. So here's the bottom line. Modernity, our OS, is designed to make us feel like we're the center of the universe. But in reality, the true subject has been capital all along, and we've just been its resource. Now, AI is the upgrade that lets this OS run completely on its own, without us. And maybe the scariest part, our current language, this whole subject-verb-object thing, might not even be powerful enough to describe what's really going on anymore. And that leaves us with one final, really unsettling question. If capital is the subject that has been running the show all along, and AI is its brand new autonomous engine, then what exactly are we?